You need to either lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way.
The Security Shift Podcast. Physical security is changing faster than ever. The Security Shift brings together the founders, consultants, security leaders, innovators, and technology companies shaping what's next. This is where ideas become partnerships, conversations become opportunities, and the entire physical security ecosystem comes together. The Security Shift Podcast. Shifting the perspective.
Welcome to the Security Shift Podcast. My name is Daniel Schneider, and my co-host is Bill Schultz. Hey, Bill.
Good morning.
Morning. We have a very special guest today on the podcast. I have a short introduction, but I think that introduction is going to be left short of everything that we know about this guy already and everybody that's been around the security industry. So how about I jump into it and we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
All right, so our guest is Charles, or known as Chuck Andrews, 40 years in law enforcement and corporate security, Texas Master Peace Officer, former Chief of Police, former Chief of Security Officer, past board member of ASS International, and their former Regional Vice President for Texas Regional 3C. He's Certified Protection Professional, Certified Fraud Examiner, Certified Financial Crime Investigator, and the list goes on, an International Crime Prevention Specialist. But most of the industry knows him as one thing, Friends of Chuck. Did I say enough or do I need to go? Well, I'll continue. A global network of professionals. It started as a joke, and that's my first question to you, Chuck, as soon as you get in there. It started as a joke in a graduate class. He wasn't even teaching that day. I want to hear that story. And the common thread is simple. You know Chuck, and Chuck knows you. And I can attest to that personally. From my own personal experience. Let me welcome Chuck Andrews to the podcast.
Great to be here, Bill. Good to see you, Dan. Good to be on the Security Shift. You guys are catching it right on in our industry, right? Because the shift is dynamic, and you can either be in front of it or you're going to be behind it. So, and your podcast is gaining a lot of attention right now because you need to either lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. Right? So people informed about what's going on, in the industry. I try to keep my finger on the pulse of what is going on around the industry. I am glad to be here, and I'm looking forward to today's podcast.
Welcome again. Let's jump into the first question. How the hell did you start Friends of Chuck? I when I did my bio research, that thing came up, and I'm like, this is funny. I got to know what the story is.
Yeah, it is a funny story, but there's nothing in life is more funnier than the truth. So the truth of how Friends of Chuck started, and this is the 30,000 foot level. So in Houston, for years, we used a whole bunch of CSOs. We'd all get together and have a dinner, and every time I went and had this dinner, people would gather and go, "Oh, Chuck, I was in Dubai, and I was in the bar. It was 2:00 in the morning." And I said, "Hey, where are you from?" And he said, "Hey, I'm from Houston, right? Houston, Texas." And so, "Oh, yeah. You ever heard of that guy, Chuck Andrews, the guy with the hat?" And so when we would reconvene every month and have a dinner, I would get harassed by everybody around the table. Why is it everywhere we go, someone remembers you? And I just tell them, it's just the hat, right? It's just the hat. No. It's more than that, Chuck. It's the personality. And the fact that, like a good golf swing, I follow through with everybody without exception, right? There's no magic to what Friends of Chuck has kind of turned into. It's hard work, it's consistency, it's follow through. When you promise somebody something, you deliver, whether you can deliver or not. So one of the guys at the table, his name is Mike Mallon, United States Marine Corps, New York cop, Texas cop, chief security officer for one of the wealthiest people in Houston. Mike came from this Disney background, and he still goes to Disney as a mature elder adult now that he is. Great guy. He and his wife Ruth started this company called Storyteller Promotions. They really wanted to take all that talent, and he's sitting at the table and he goes, Chuck, and my friend Frank was sitting there as well. And it's like, Frank, I asked him to go earlier that day to teach at Sam Houston State University, my alma mater, where I was teaching graduate students. I was teaching actually in the computer science department, cyber. And I asked Frank to go, and he goes, "Oh yeah, Friends of Frank is going to go, FOF." And Mike goes, "No, no, no, Friends of Chuck. You got it all wrong." So literally, that's how it was born at the table. Mike, the very next day, his son is an artist, and literally the logo that you see today, 1.0, remains. And his son came up with that and said, "You have to do something with this because you connect everybody." So that's where it all started. So I had Frank go to class and substitute teach for me because I couldn't get up to Huntsville, Texas to teach. And the kids are all going like, "Hey," I'm not supposed to call them kids, by the way. I'm supposed to call them students. I want to make sure I'm politically correct here. So they said, "Hey, where's Professor Andrews?" Or most kids call me Chuck, right? It's like, "Oh, he's not here." And Frank goes, "It's Friends of Frank." And they all go, "No, no, no, it's Friends of Chuck, Friends of Frank, Friends of Chuck." And this battle ensued in the room, right? So anyway, that's kind of the story behind how everything started. And from there, the rest is history.
Well, let's kind of jump into your few things that you're involved with right now. We have Security X. Tell us about that. What's happening with that?
ASIS GSX is coming up. I think this is 36 years for me as a member of ASIS International. I always say, if you're going to be in this business, if you want to win, show up. And that means being a member of ASIS, IAFCI. There's all these different organizations, right, that you should be involved in. So the big conference is coming up in Atlanta. Security X is going to have, right now, registration's open, but it's going to close really quick. We're going to have at least 500 people minimum at our event at Margaritaville on Sunday, September 13th. We'll start at 6:30 p.m. This year, I've been asked to be the MC for the U.S. OSPA Awards, so I will be doing that, and then from there going straight over to Margaritaville for Security X. Now, your question was probably, what is Security X? Security X is the only platform in the world that is trying to put the security community together for a job and working for a company, and a company together finding that security officer. So it's more than that. It's going to have all kinds of other capabilities. Go to joinsecurityx.com and you can get all the details on all the bells and whistles above and beyond its original intent, which is putting people together for a job and those companies finding good employees. It's going to be a platform that's really going to help the security industry.
It sounds like a friend of Chuck's put to the test and put into practice. It's no longer just a collaborating, actually putting people together, which kind of falls in line with what you normally do. So that's great. Actually kind of falls in line with what Bill does and what he's known for on the web, yep. Especially in the LinkedIn community. So Bill, I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Chuck, I'd listened to some of your past content and some other podcasts. And one of the things that struck me was very interesting, and I've been playing around with LinkedIn myself since 2008. But yep. the neat thing, the backstory about the business cards up against the wall, does that wall still exist? If it does, I'd love to have a picture on that another time. Sure. Talk about that story and then the LinkedIn side of it. And I feel like I've had a lot of massive success with it. And to your point, it's really about just showing up and learning and being curious about other people and not just worried about the transaction, right? We just build a relationship, plant that seed. We don't know when that's going to happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I have 70,000 business cards I've collected since I was a kid, a law enforcement police explorer when I began my journey at the age of 13 in the 1970s. Riding around in a police car for 4,000 hours before I was commissioned at age 19, 20 years old in Texas. All these cards I've collected, but I didn't realize for years and years, Bill, how important a business card was. So literally I collected those and keep those. I stay in touch with thousands and thousands of people in the industry. And so I put on, clearly, this is not my back wall. I'm in Colorado at my place here for the summer. Those are the Flatirons of Boulder, Colorado. This is my backyard, literally and figuratively. And clearly, there's no cards here, but we could do maybe a digital backdrop of all those cards. Now, LinkedIn really is that digital version of those cards, but I still am old school. And I designed my business card so you can take notes on it, has all the information on how to get a hold of me, because I constantly write notes on the back of those cards. You're right, Bill. It begins and ends with people, right? You have to take the equation of finance out of that and selling somebody something. And you have to focus on the relationship. Win, lose, or draw. Focus on the relationship. Now I have great friends like the both of you in this industry and thousands of others. 1 degree of separation. I know the name of your dog. I know the kind of whiskey you like to drink. I know your favorite restaurant in the state of Arizona. Those are the things that are important, because all you have is your family and friends. That's what I built my life and work on that premise, not money. Did I make that clear, Bill?
Absolutely. You know, and a lot of times I think I could relate to you a lot these days, where it just feels like at the end of the day, you know, my wife might ask me like, "Hey, what'd you do today?" Like, babe, it's a lot. I talked to a lot of people. And that's all we have to say, because we're just wore out and we gave our best, right? We talked to a lot of people.
Yep.
We gave back.
I did.
In 2014 or just before actually 2011, I listened to this song while I was in Texas, and it was an overplayed song. I'm sure everybody's going to know that song if you're from Texas. Chicken Fried by Zac Brown Band. And there's one line in there that I one day heard it and understood it. And that line says, "There's no dollar sign on the peace of mind this I've come to know." Yep. And when I internalized that, life became so much easier. And I was able to get to where I need to go. Because when I was focused on the money, nothing was working. You start focusing on people, start focusing on relationships, and things have changed. So, you know, even a personal experience, that's definitely the trajectory.
Yeah. And every now and then I'll take on a challenge on Meta Facebook, right? Which means I'm going to get into a digital fight. And I try to win it over by logic and words and experience and credibility. And but I picked my battles. And somebody was saying, "Oh, you know, a friend of mine, I've been saying this forever. Look, if you come from this industry and the three of us are kind of type A, retirement is not an option." Somebody put on there, "Hey, I retired, but I went back 2 months later." His wife posted something, you know, like, "I'm really proud of my husband because he's, you know, going back to work because he wants to build something and help the community and create a legacy and make a difference and move the needle." And those are all things that resonate with me. Like, I'll never retire because I've incorporated everything that you benefit from ex post facto in retirement for the last 35 years of my life. I've played more golf than a human being should play golf. I've been to more places on vacation. I've been snorkeling in lots of different places. You know, I've done all this stuff, but I intentionally incorporated it in everything that I do as part of my life, not knowing if I'd ever retire, but I know that I won't, because that's just not me, right? And the truth is we're all on a mission. We're human beings, right? These living organisms that are here to accomplish a mission. Now, if I get sick, which I've had, you know, the cancer thing, and I have titanium in my back, right? I thought that was going to shut me down, but it has not shut me down. And I'm still riding today. And that won't change for me. But if I get sick, then I'll have to make some decisions whether I physically or mentally can move forward. The rest of my life, and I told him, this guy said, "Hey, I love retirement." I said, "I know. I see you he posts 3 days a week. He's sitting in his pool. He's 4 days a week. He's eating at a restaurant. And then he's getting a new AR-15A2 with a lot of new cool things on it sitting in his deer blind." Right. And that's okay. That works for him. But 70% 90% of people need something to do. And that's going to be me in this business. I'll never retire. It's about the people. And I plan to leave a legacy in the industry.
Yeah, and I love that. You know, the thing is, if you're paying attention to what Friends of Chuck does, it does look like he's on vacation. He's going to cool places. He's eating at cool places, right? Like there, hanging out with cool people. So I can relate to that. I feel that's probably going to be me as well. Just because we're not digging ditches, right? We don't have to use our bodies all much more here. Cerebral.
Right. You definitely. And listen, I've already had 3 or 4 well-known security people come up and visit, or they stay over an extra day, stop at DIA, right? And always, my wife and I are big hosts, right? Because you don't get to experience this every day, right? We say Colorado is just another, it's one of the best Texas state parks ever built.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Let's kind of talk about your book, because I got it signed by you the first time I went to GSX.
Yes, sir.
And again,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was a good move.
Yes, sir. It kind of lines up with what we just talked about. It's Sir is strategy, intelligence, and relationships.
That's it.
So talk about that. Let us know what was the how did you come up with the book, and why'd you write it?
Honestly, it's just one of those things on my bucket list to do. It took me 5 years. It's very, very painful. I'll be honest with you. I wasn't a natural AP student, right? I had to work really hard for A's and B's, and writing a book is hard. Writing a really good book is really, really hard. And then it took me 5 years of research to really understand, am I going to get rich when I write a book? No, you're not going to get rich writing a book, but you're going to help a lot of other people. And that has its own richness tied to it. And that's the path that I went after doing all this investigation. I need to write a book that people can read on the plane and they can physically roll up and put in their back pocket and put in their security tool chest. I need to write a book that the majority of the time I can give away to people, right? It's got to be inexpensive. So it just took me forever to figure out what's a winning formula. And when I launched the book, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, people could buy it on Amazon. You just type in, yes, sir, Chuck Andrews, and it'll pop up. Or they can reach out to me on LinkedIn and I'll send them a signed copy. And you get a Texas Rangers challenge coin. What a deal, right? And people like it signed, to be honest with you. That's just a human thing. And I try to I take the time to put a personal comment in there. But the book was built as a tool to help you. So you could be your own influencer in the industry. How to use LinkedIn, how to talk to people, how to work with people, things to do, things not to do. It's 104 pages. It's quick, but you can apply it immediately. I'll be giving out a few books at GSX, at SecurityX as well. So if you're there, I'm happy to share one with you. Or if you get one on Amazon, bring it with you. I think they're $10 or $14 or something like that. So that's the whole premise of it. Title is, yes, sir. Everybody says that. Law enforcement, security, military people. So I played off of that, right? And it's all about the strategy, the intelligence, and relationship. Nothing else really matters. You'll implement those things into the things that you're doing. I'm asking you to change, but enhance or incorporate exactly what you're doing. This is the way that you want to go about doing it. And it's just another tool. There's lots of great books out there. There's a lot of great tools out there. But hopefully this, again, part of a legacy, giving back in the industry. This is why I did it.
It definitely was something I used to launch my prevention, campaign and identity. I met you a little over 4 years ago, I think. No, 3 years ago, at GSX. I reached out. I posted something on LinkedIn saying, "Hey, it's my first time. I'm really not sure what's going on." And you were the only one that reached out and said, "Hey,
what?
Stop by
What?
and see me."
1 billion people on LinkedIn, Dan. One person reached out to you. Is that what I just heard?
Yeah, well, there are a couple people just go ahead and enjoy it, But you're the one that can come stopping by and see me, and you did. And what impressed me the most is the fact that you remembered who I was.
Yep.
Even if you played it off, you played it off very well. But it was you knew who I was, and that made me feel important and special,
Yep.
and kind of eased me into it. And then I think 3 years around after that, I'm actually going to be speaking in GSX so this year. So that would be a huge from I don't know what I'm doing to I'm actually be speaking on there. So I thank you and I credit you for that.
Sure. Listen, I go into a room. Bill, what was the last event we were at? Was it in Arizona?
Yeah.
Is that the and like I'm going to go up to the people I don't know in the room, right? I can't tell you how many business deals sitting first class on an airplane, which I'm fortunate to do because I got 1,000,000 miles. So eventually everybody will get there. Just have to be persistent and consistent. But it's the people you don't know that the people you need to know, right? And I can't tell you, the older I get in life, the less I know. Can you guys appreciate that statement?
Amen.
Because
absolutely.
there's so much out there and you think you know it all. And I always go, look, I don't know what I don't know. I say that in business deals and in transactions. Look, I'm going to share a little bit of philosophy. I don't get involved in any business deals where the assessment is on me. If I don't bring value, a value proposition, and I don't care if they want me or they do want me or they throw a lot of money at me or they throw no money, it doesn't matter. I got to bring value. And sometimes it's not a lot about money, is about being given an opportunity to understand new technology and getting to work with some really badass people, hardworking people, cutting edge innovation technology. Because one thing leads to another, leads to another. So when you evaluate that, make sure you bring value. So value has to be both perceived and real. Two important things, because a lot of people, because they know me or like want to associate with friends of Chuck and that kind of thing, a lot of that is perceived and emotional, and it's based on social media influence. This, for me, this is what you get right here. This is what you see on LinkedIn, right? People put crazy pictures on LinkedIn, enhanced 18 filters, and then you see them in real and go, who are you, right? Be who you are, right, with people. So perceived. So you got to have that box checked. And then, but it has to be real too, perceived and real. Got to be able to deliver. Get clear expectations around deliverables, because everybody wants to bring you on or help with a company or build this or do that. In their head, they have expectations that you're going to bring $5 million to the bottom line. So you got to have that hard discussion up front with them in the business world. And so it's better to do it up front and be up front with everybody. And that's just some business philosophy I pass on to everybody. And it works because now you know what you're getting. Make sense?
Amen. Yes. State it, set expectations, know exactly where it is, and then nobody gets hurt at that point because they know what you can bring in and what you can't. Yeah. Bill, you had some questions about some travel, and since Chuck already touched upon the million miles, why don't we just jump into that?
Yeah, so maybe before that, let me just ask you one other thing to segue to this, and then I'll transition back. I'm known to bounce around, so that's how it goes down. But I had the pleasure of sitting in on a couple actual business meetings with you, and they were serious in nature but lighthearted at the same time. And a couple of the things that I remembered was the emotional contract that's there without a contract. And me and you have had other discussions about that in the day of NDAs and contracts and paranoia and everybody worried about stealing everything. Tell me a little bit about your mindset. Obviously, it goes back to the old Texas roots, I'm sure, but I'd like to hear about that, the advanced version of that, where that lies today and where maybe we need to go again.
You can't do it, and good business dictates you put it in writing, Bill, right? But my standard is a Texas standard, and that's a handshake. Like I tell people, let me send you an NDA. I don't want an NDA. Love you, love your company, love what you're doing, but I need to know what I don't know, but I don't need to know it all and be responsible for it. So, like, don't send me an NDA. I'd rather work with somebody that says we don't need an NDA and a handshake all day long, and I use that criteria. But good business dictates that you have your arrangement in some kind of writing. But I want to work with people that don't need to put it in writing. Does that make sense to y'all?
Yeah, I resonate with
It
that
makes
big time.
sense, but those are far and few between, and you got to come up with the right criteria and those people who seek you rather than
Yep.
so you can choose them. They don't exist everywhere.
That's exactly right, and that's the criteria you should use. And look, it's human nature is failing. It has always failed. It will always fail. So you have to factor that up front. And people are human. Misrepresent something, fraud, lying, deception, all for ego, power, and money, right? That's not my world, and I do not work with those people. I don't want to. This is not my game, and so I'm in it for the long run. I use the Chinese philosophy, 1,000 years, right? Make that investment, and that's what I've consistently done for scores and decades. And do the right thing, right? Because that's all that matters. People forget that your life is finite. This industry doesn't matter what you do in this world. Your days are finite, and you only have so much time and so many resources to do what needs to be done to leave the world a better place. So, no matter what you do in life, you have a responsibility as a member of this society to leave it better than you got it, unselfishly. And that's hard to do because you need money to survive, and maybe you grew up in a bad household and you've got to deal with that, right? There's all kinds of things. But you got to associate yourself with the people that are going to like-minded with you and have the same ethos. And sometimes that's really tough to find and to work on. It's not easy, but we should all be aiming in that direction. Does that make sense, y'all?
100%.
Yeah, be the better human.
Exactly.
So go back to the funny stuff. There's a lot of serious stuff, but that's fun too, right? That's good nuggets to always keep adding to the toolkit. Some funny stuff. You travel a lot, see a lot of things on social media, Facebook, business and personal, right?
Ooh.
A lot of unique events occur, good, bad, and different. Canceled flights, mistakes, blunders. Love to hear maybe a good illustration of a real fun one for you that entertained you to the core, and then just kind of like, your take on the whole space,
Bill, where do I start? I don't even.
Yeah.
Listen, look, I'm still in law enforcement, right? I maintain my commission to the benefit of my community as a Texas Master Commissioned Peace Officer. Some people call it a reserve. In Texas, it's different there. You're either full-time paid or full-time non-paid. Scott Walker will resonate with that as an Arizona Ranger. So I've been in the people business since I was a kid, since 13 years old. As a law enforcement police explorer in the 70s and 80s, there's more crime then than there is today, right? The data doesn't lie. So I think by the time I was, 17 years old, after riding around a police car for 4,000 hours, you start learning about human beings. I was riding with officers, riding shotgun. So I'm learning from them, and both the good, the bad, and the ugly, all three of those. But I paid attention. My mom was a school teacher for almost 40 years. My dad was an engineer. So I had the basis of mind of learning from them to say, learn, right? And then extract that and then leverage it forward. And that's exactly what I did. When I finished as a police explorer, I had a degree in human behavior 901, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. I made a half dozen homicide scenes. So I was helped, moving bodies when I was 15, 16 years old. I got to be involved in everything. I loved every minute of it and still do today. So that just taught me about, really just, I'm in the people business. I'm in the people business, and I just happen to be in the security, law enforcement, cyber vertical of that. And each of those three units has a certain culture and mindset. And I maintain relationships with everybody. So I'm going to give you a story. I'm going to give you an airplane story first, right? So my hat travels with me. This hat's very special, made by the lady who made some very important people, like maybe his name is the Duke.
Wow.
Okay. In getting this hat through a friend of mine, Steve, who Friends of Truck Introduction, right? She said it'd be like maybe 2 years before the hat's done. I went to her place, flew to her place, was used equipment that's over 120 years old to make the hat. So the origin of hats, Paris, France, toppers and boilers, right? This heavy metal equipment they put on your head measures perfectly the circumference. You put a piece of paper on, you stamp the machine, jostles your head, right? This is a big deal. And so I noticed inside and had to have a cup of coffee with her. She's in her late 70s. And she had a cow collection. You know those ceramic cows? You know what I'm talking about? That people collect. And so by the time we're done and go through the whole hat experience, and I documented it all, of course, I like to take pictures. And I said, "Hey, you collect cows?" "Yeah, look at my cow." She's we spent 30 minutes talking about ceramic cows. And when I got home, I happened to have a ceramic cow, like she was talking about, from NASA, Houston, like a cow in an astronaut's uniform. You ever seen that before? You guys see this kind of stuff? So they're very collectible. And I just sent it to her because I knew she would get more joy out of having that, right? So I just sent it to her with a nice note saying, "Hey, thank you. Look forward to getting my hat done." And she literally calls me back on the phone when she gets it, just all giddy and excited. And she goes, "Your hat will be done in 2 weeks." Look, just do nice things for people. The collection of small gestures to human beings will get you further down the road with relationships and cooperation. I was really good at taking confessions from people, right? Never did I have to be the bad cop. I was always by the good cop. And I learned that as an explorer, because a lot of cops can be aggressive, right? And so for me, I just recognized that. And it's like, hey, I'm always going to be the good guy. And I use that. And that's why I took a lot of confessions from people, because I created the confidence and credibility. And I just kind of used that and leveraged it forward in all that I'm trying to do. Anyway, that's the hat. So the hat travels with me. It's got probably, 250,000 air miles, this particular hat. And it's part of my brand, right? Texas is part of my brand. Law enforcement, security, cyber, all that. So it travels with me. And I finally got to a point in life where I got 1,000,000 miles all the time, and I can sit in first class. And then my hat gets to sit with me, but I don't wear it on the plane. And I have a process and a system for this hat so it does not get harassed or crushed or assaulted. So like literally I have a certain pull bag. I extend the arm out a little bit so it has a place for the hat, turn the hat around, crown goes on the bottom. And when I take off, it goes into the front because the plane goes like this, right? Everything slides back. When I land, I move the hat or I wear it upon landing. This is the way it's been able to survive all these years. So one day I was flying LAX to Palm Springs. In the winter, you can get a direct flight to Palm Springs, but you can't in the summer. And I went up there for like 10, 15 years of playing golf and hanging out with security friends. And I get on the plane first because of status and put my hat up there. And then this guy who apparently every day flies to LA from Palm Springs gets on the plane. Now, mind you, every plane that I go on, every flight attendant gets a Friends of Chuck pin. Every single one. I've done hundreds and hundreds, and the pilots get my coin or the Texas Ranger coin. A lot of them are ex-military, Air Force guys or Navy guys that fly. Without exception, I do this. No exception that day. I'm usually first on the plane, get to have a little conversation with them, get to meet and greet them. They're very thankful, right? There's a couple of stories there. They're pretty crazy too. And then this guy comes on and he grabs my hat and he throws it on the floor. Literally takes it out of the bin and throws it on the floor so he can put his bag up there. You know how well that went off with me?
Oh, man.
I picked up my hat. I went to see the captain. The captain steps out, grabs the guy's bag, puts it in his lap, takes the hat off my hat, puts it in the bin and clothes, and he goes, "Is there a problem?" So this guy was drunk and had too much money and too much ego. And he started yelling at the captain. He said, "You can sit here and shut up or get off my plane." So there was the benefit of building a relationship. Captain knew I was the real deal. He could tell a good hat when you see a good hat. And you don't do things like that to a Texan, for that matter, anybody, right? So that almost went to fisticuffs, but I wasn't going to let that happen because I'm going to land on the right side of this kind of stuff. But look, that's just one of many examples of riding back with political officials. So that's the only plain one I can think of right off the top of my head. There's a bunch of them, Bill, with the pilots. One of them sent me a nice note. Another one made an announcement on the plane to everybody. I mean, like crazy stuff, right? And you're just building relationships, right? This is the benefit of being nice to people. Imagine that. Just being nice to people. Small gesture. Friends of Chuck pin. I think I've ordered 200,000 pins in the last 14 years that I've dispersed. 200,000. I went back and did an inventory last week to see just some numbers, because I'm a numbers guy. And a small gesture, they all wear the pin, and now people get on the plane and they send me a picture where they're sitting going, "Hey, the stewardess is wearing your pin." Right. So slowly building, being consistent, being nice to the world, doing the right thing. These things aren't hard, but it turns out they're hard for people. And I talk about that in my book under a section called maintenance. Maintenance is the hardest thing you'll ever do in your life, personally, professionally, through engineering principles, operations, processes, Six Sigma, all of that. Maintenance is expensive and it's hard. But if you can master maintenance, you will win all the time. What other story, Bill? Because I know you've been creeping on my Facebook page or my LinkedIn, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not going to call it luggage because it's not luggage. It's literally a travel accessory that has a lot of functions. I saw you had to do some repairs on that. How much longer is that going to last? And is there a new one in the lab being built with Starlink and a bunch of other cool stuff?
Yeah. So after, I don't know, a couple 100,000, my Samsonite blew a wire. I had used bolt cutters because the wiring is so good on it. And then every good Texas redneck has some duct tape. And I just tried to match the color. I just needed to get it from Houston to Denver. And it made it, right? But the new one is here tomorrow, right? The new bag that was, but yeah, I had to use bolt cutters to cut the wiring. So because it get hung up, right, and everything would come out going through all the baggage system, right, as part of it. But it made it. You can always rely on duct tape.
What's in there? I mean, is there stuff in there that we can't know about? I mean, what's you see? It's with you everywhere. It's in an airport.
Yep. So every time I go and take my pull bag, and every compartment is right. I have all these coins, so I get popped in TSA for metallurgy all the time. So I know a private room for inspection better than anybody. And I know the TSA rules better than TSA. And it's like, before the bag even comes through, I said, I'll beat y'all in room A3 over here. Because they're going to have to go through all my stuff. And it's always metallurgy. I ask them, what did it hit on? I know the technology that they're using, right? And they're going like, who is this guy? Anyway, so each pocket, on one pocket is friends of Chuck pins. Front pockets are laptop, and I can't take all that stuff out. It just doesn't work. I have to allow for extra time to go through all the private through a private room inspection. But every time I'm done, sometimes it's a good scenario, sometimes it's not. TSA people are having a bad day, and then they pick out my law enforcement credentials are in there. And they eventually see that. Some don't know what it is, some do. But anyway, by the time I'm done, it's like they also get a coin and a Friends of Chuck pin. So I've been through it all. I take my survival equipment. I have an extra drop back in there. I have stuff I can't tell you about in there.
Okay.
I have icy hot eye drops, Band-Aids. Like, I'm a Boy Scout, right? So I can survive any scenario, right? I have snacks. Snacks are very important, usually of the peanut variety. I have a great collection. I have a system and a process, and I'm prepared. And then I have trackers in all my bags as well. Everything has a tracker.
Yep, I got trackers too. Once you start flying with a gun from one place to another, you realize I need to know where my stuff is. Not just
flying
the
with a gun is a pain.
So
used to not be this way for law enforcement if you were flying in Texas Air, right? But all that changed with 9/11. So it's just the whole philosophy of red tagging and letting the entire world know, and then opening your guns right there in front of 1,000 people that are checking in there. None of this appeals to me. So I use a different system outside of that. Let's just say that's legal and proper, but it's already there when I arrive at whatever destination I happen to be.
Bill, any final thoughts
Bill,
here?
What else you got on me? What else you got on me, man?
So I'm not gonna ask you anything I creeped on, but I do have maybe a serious one, just kind of for everybody. And I like to ask questions I'm learning at the same time on this episode here.
Yes, sir.
So, in your opinion, just overall, there's a lot of noise, right? What's your take on the current state of the security industry? It's a lot going on, right? A lot of noise, but the good, bad, and different, right? Just kind of get your overall arching thoughts.
Is this an 8-hour show?
Yes.
Okay. Man, the security industry. Wow. Opinions can be dangerous, Bill. And, some things that I recognize. First off, the law enforcement community is never going to get to do its job again, ever.
Yep.
Right? Last 10 years. Law enforcement officer works under color of law, works under the Constitution, and is thus kind of, I wouldn't say restricted, but right, got to follow the rules, and they should. But law enforcement is only as good as society allows them to do the job that they're trying to do to protect the community, right? It's a fair statement. So, but all that dynamic has changed. It's just absolutely crazy, the kind of stuff and the behaviors that are unfolding based on politics and culture, and the economy, foreign politics, oil, right? We could go on for days about this. But one of the things I recognize is the security industry, its growth has been unbelievable. You guys agree with me?
Amen. Yep.
Oh, absolutely.
It's insane. All the opportunities from, security officers, uniformed, my Lord, the executive protection industry. As soon as the CEO of United Healthcare was killed, unbelievable growth, can't even meet demand, right, for protection. I see your survey, Bill. I pushed it out, and I see EP is at 52%.
Okay.
right?
Right.
Right now. I'm picking AI because if you want to remain competitive and survive, you better get in the game real quick between OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Claude, right? So you better figure out what's going to work for you. Better start using it. Better start incorporating it. Good, bad, or ugly, it doesn't matter. For you to remain competitive in our world, you better level up, right? Because you now have tools. You can be a PhD in under 20 minutes and be able to get answers and responses. So law enforcement, because they're not able to do what they're supposed to do by their mandates, and they can't do it because public sentiment has changed, right? Good, bad, or indifferent. It is what it is. But the security industry is picking up a lot of the slack, right? Picking up a lot of the slack. Just look at, there's off-duty companies for police officers, right? Just a ton. There's 4 or 5 major ones around the country. There's more work than there are officers.
Mm-hmm.
And even law enforcement agencies that go direct, they can't fill those spots. They have a younger male, female officer, right, in the business, and I call them kids, and they come from a different philosophy when it comes to work and sacrifice, right? I'm a baby boomer, so I call us the great generation because we did pencil and paper to calculator to rotary phone to cell phone, right? We got the whole span of it all, black and white TV to color TV, right? And it's like our generation, I'm saying this with some bias, I think the data will back it, right? We know what hard work is. Bill, you know what hard work. Dan, you know what hard work is, right? And if we go work a 16-hour day, that's what it takes, right? But that's not the same philosophy by the younger folks, especially in law enforcement, right? With due respect for them committing to be in the job, you do have, I've been bared witness to this, cops that have never been in a fist fight in their entire life, and they go out on a call, and what are they supposed to do, right? How do you handle a situation? Yes, they went through training, but how do you manage violence, right? Gunfire, gunfights, right? All the horror. And I think we got to grow up in a generation, we got to see more of that. So we're a little bit more callous or hardened in a good way to be able to do a good job. But security's going to take over a ton of stuff, man, and technology. But AI is on the top of my list. It's going to be the future in everything that we do, and you better embrace it now.
Got a question. So everybody's talking technology and security, and that's the next phase. Would you agree to the following statement? Most, I'd say 90 to 99% of security currently is reactive versus proactive and preventive.
Man, this is my wheelhouse. I've been in crime prevention all my life, certified crime prevention specialist, international crime prevention specialist. Like, my work in law enforcement, that's the majority of my time was spent in crime prevention. Like, I know crime prevention. I'll go up against anybody to talk about crime prevention. Like, if you ask somebody, even today, what's the definition of crime prevention? Crime prevention is the anticipation, recognition, and appraisal of a crime risk and the initiation of some type of action to reduce said risk. Boom. I mean, I'm all about it. And in law enforcement, it only made sense to me to spend all our time, money, and resources on preventing crime. And I got to do that through a combination of many things: Neighborhood Watch Operation ID, DARE program, McGruff program, community-based policing, all these things, right, that would get us to a point to prevent the crime in the first place because the price is too big to pay. And I still feel that way today. All law enforcement efforts should go to the prevention of crime, where the extent of law and in Texas, the Code of Criminal Procedure will allow you to actually do that. You know how many CSI TV shows we have?
Too many. My wife watches them, all of them.
So I can't watch any of that stuff because it's all BS. So we are really good at crime scenes, but guess what? They're already dead.
Yep.
I always say this to people when we talk about this. And guess what? We have to be, because we need to go find the bad guy who's responsible, in hopes that we can prevent them from murdering or maiming or sexually assaulting or hurting another human being. Make sense? We're really good at it. We're so good. We have TV shows and, you know, homicide investigators, right? They're really good at what they do, man. They're really deep in the people, the ugly people part of the business, right? That they have to deal with informants and shaking down a neighborhood by talking to people. What I mean shaking down is walking around and canvassing the neighborhood, because they know the neighborhood and the people who live in it. That makes a good homicide investigator. It goes all back to the people part of it. So we're really good at doing, you know, get a call, lights and siren, roll to the scene, and then you try to mitigate the violence that's happening in front of you. And then everything has a camera. Oh, by the way, it didn't happen if there's not a camera, right?
Yep.
I didn't have to work in that world back then. We didn't have body cameras. We just came out with DWI cameras, which I loved, catching, you know, making DWI cases. So my point of saying all this is crime prevention is the way we should go with everything. And then we try to apply that to security technology, right? So there's some technology out there with camera systems, right, that exist either through AC, DC power sources that are on a pole, right? They're on a trailer or they're static, affixed to a pole, and they have voice down, right? So it goes to GSOC. You see anybody, some algorithm picks it up, right, and says, oh, somebody's in the vicinity, and you can talk to that person, say, hey, get out of here. Lights, siren, annoying classical music, right, to get them to go away. There's some prevention there, but part of the issue is I don't call it prevention. I call it displacement, because if you take the time to protect your place with something, a preventative piece of technology like that, which does work, I've seen it work many, many times. They just go to the guy's business down the street that doesn't have the technology. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Right? And bad guys, law enforcement agencies, pushing the bad guys, right? Denver's down here, Aurora's down here. Back in the day when I was in law enforcement here, gangs were huge, right? And you're just displacing them from block to block to block to pushing out to be somebody else's problem, right? And these are truths and realities. So our goal is to find those people. We need to focus on the prevention part of it. Security technology, part of it does a much better job of the prevention piece of it. You want to stop it before it happens, get them ID'd, and but that I think there's the ROI is better on prevention all the way around, right? There's no question about it, right? You and that's where investment should be made. But the problem is how do you quantify prevention to justify your P&L, your budget?
There it is.
Right? And
there
so
it is.
let me tell you how I did it in law enforcement, because I had to get real creative. How many people, neighborhood watch Operation ID, right? What was our burglary rate this year? What's our burglary rate 2 years from now? How many signs did we put up? How many meetings did we have? How many officer self-initiated activities did we have, right? By working with the community and the public. And I've always been a big advocate. Doesn't matter if it's a security officer out on patrol or a law enforcement officer out on patrol. The way you do that is like literally, I like to take districts like, right? This is the city of Boulder right here, right? All this. And these small districts where that officer stays 3 to 5 years. Optionally could live in the district if he wanted to. Used to be big COPS programs that used to do that, community policing grant money back in the day. But your responsibility is to know every household, every kid, where they work, the car that they drive, right? Oh, Miss Jones walks every evening at 5 o'clock, and they're all looking. Back in the day, they'd look at me and go, "What?" And it's like, do you understand that you have to, by law, articulate what you do as a law enforcement officer to establish reasonable suspicion and/or probable cause? Okay, probable cause. Carroll versus U.S. 1957, whatever it is. Probable cause. What's probable cause? Reasonably trustworthy information sufficient in itself to warn a man of reasonable caution that a crime has occurred or is occurring, or that certain property that's stolen or seized or otherwise unknown can be found and identified. End quote. Right? What gets you there? What gets you there? Literally. How do you establish the legal basis to make contact with people? If you know the whole neighborhood, and every day Miss Jones drives a red Corvette, right? And she comes home at 5 o'clock. And by the way, she works at Boeing down here, or IBM right down here, or U.S. Department of Commerce, or the National Weather Center up here, right? Or anywhere. And you know all these facts, then by law, you can articulate because, oh, her car door is left open and the car is halfway parked in the street, or she didn't go on her walk tonight, or something's going on that's not right because the front door is, now because you have knowledge and you built the relationships, you can articulate what's necessary to establish reasonable suspicion, probable cause to go intervene and investigate, right? To try to prevent a crime, right? So I'm big on this, and I have always been big on this. Like, guys on patrol would call me and go, "Chuck, don't you know Miss Jones over there? And she part of Neighborhood Watch? Does she have a blah, blah, blah? Or do you have a phone number for her?" Yeah, right? I can't tell you the value of that in protecting the community by building the relationship. So you see how my whole life this is played into my book.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway.
Chuck, any closing thoughts that you have for us?
Man, look, I like what you guys are doing, and because you're keeping it real, keeping it raw, bring on people different from me, right? Get different, diverse feedback, keep it real, right? And I think that's what you guys are doing, and you're really trying to make a difference in the podcast world with the Security Shift. Love the name because it's dynamic, right? It's constantly shifting, but we want it to shift to be good knowledge, information sharing, relationship building. Listen, I look forward to seeing everybody at ASIS GSX. I'm going to be the MC on Sunday for the US OSPA's award presentations. That's Dr. Martin Gill's group. I've been a recipient, a judge, and this is a great way to recognize people, and I have that honor. And then we're going right over at 6:30 for the Security X, security powered networking, food, drink, fun, giveaways, right? This is how we kick things off like we used to do at Texas night.
Man.
Everybody talks about that, man. 10 years of that, and the last one was 4,000 people. Whew.
Yeah. People still call it Texas night too. They don't know the difference, right?
They don't know the difference.
That's all good. You'll take it.
It all works, man. I'm just glad that we can all be around on Earth a little longer and hang out together and help each other out in the business. Thank you guys for having me on the show. It is greatly appreciated. Always good to see you. Look forward to seeing everybody at ASIS GSX in Atlanta coming up next month.
The Security Shift will be in attendance, not officially, but Bill and I will be in attendance on at GSX, and we'll definitely walk the floor at Security X event. I didn't sign up yet, so I have to make sure that I am.
Hurry. Hurry. It's gonna fill up like that, right?
Yes, absolutely. But other than that, I'll be speaking also on the 14th between 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. About why most security programs activate too late and what prevention has to do with it. And then what else we got? Any final notes from you, Bill?
No, I just wanted to have an individual thank you, Chuck, for being on this podcast today. Fun being around you as a friend, peer, mentor. Always love the constructive criticism. you keep it real with us too. This isn't just a fluff thing that you just make a bunch of content to fluff us up. You care. You're watching and you care.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Again, I'd like to, echo that as well. Thank you. And thank you for the mentorship. Even though it's from afar, I don't get to call and do a lot of things like Bill. I hang around him to know more about how to interact with people. I'm more of the introvert, even though it doesn't look like it.
Sure.
But I appreciate that. Thank you. And, again, thank you for being on the broadcast.
Absolutely. Enjoyed it, gentlemen. Y'all be well. See y'all in Atlanta.
Thank you. Thanks, Chuck.
You bet.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. And we'll close today. And again, this is the Security Shift Podcast coming to you from Arizona and Colorado today. And we're going to say thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.